elementary music teacher. This is going to be my second year teaching elementary music. So in this video, we are chatting all about what I would change in my second year of teaching elementary music. This video comes from some of the things that I reflected on when I reflected on my first year of teaching. So I will leave that link for that video in case you're interested in the description below. But let's get right on in to things that I hope to change in my second year of teaching music. The first big thing that I hope to change in my second year of teaching music is how my kids sit. It is 2022. So for us, if you're watching this not in real time, we've just come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the COVID-19 pandemic, there were times where I couldn't have my kids in my room at all. And when they were in my room, they had to be very meticulously spaced out. So I had kids in 5 rows of 4 kids across. And that is their spot. They couldn't really move around the room. They need to be by those people. But now we're out of that. So now I'm challenged to think of different ways to have my kids sit around the room. So I have recently purchased a carpet, and I will try to leave a picture in the video. I have recently purchased this carpet. So my plan is that when I'm doing the teaching part of my lessons, like when I'm explicitly teaching, I'm going to have the kids in about 3 rows of 9 on the carpet, so that they're nice and close to me. And same thing when we're reading books and things like that. When we are doing our movement and our instrument activities, I'm going to then move to the tile. And on my tile, I plan to put down some like floor markers for the kids to stand in different arrangements. So I hope to have markers that make a circle for them to stand in, and that make rows and boxes and just different shapes, so that there's different ways that my students can be and stand in the classroom. The other thing that I will keep doing is having a seating plan. And I mainly plan to use my seating plan for when I have students sitting on the carpet with me and I'm explicitly teaching them. I plan to use it then because that will just help the students focus more, because I'll have some control of who they sit next to. And then when we move to the other areas in the classroom, the instrument area and then the movement area, they'll have more choice in choosing a smart spot for them. Speaking of instruments, that is the second thing that I want to change in my music room this year. I want to use more instruments, partly because I don't have to worry about sanitizing them. So I can use xylophones with every class if I want to. So I'm looking at finding a spot near the back of my room to have some of my ORF instruments set up all the time, so that it's easier to transition and just makes it easier to go to those instruments. Right now they're all on shelves in my room, so it is a big job to get them all set up, especially when I'm not using them for multiple classes. So I'm hoping just to put 5 or 6 along the back of my classroom. My students are very good at respecting the instruments already, so I don't think that'll be an issue. So I'll put 5 or 6 across the back of the classroom that will just stay up all the time. And then when we're doing something that uses instrument, or those times where I'm teaching that I'm like, oh, it'd be great if I could use instruments right here, but it's so much work and we have 6 minutes left of class, I can just have the kids rotate through the ones at the back and just make them more accessible that way. I also hope to be able to find some new books that I can add instruments to and add instruments into my classroom that way. One new thing that I'd like to add this year comes from, I think her name is Mrs. Munchkins, who I follow on Instagram. And every day I believe she has a magic word that she uses with her kids. And I'm going to bring this into the music room. And using my magic word is that will be their cue for when it's time to transition. So often what I would do this past year, is I would tell the kids to freeze. And then I'd start explaining, but then they would start moving. So my goal with the magic word is I'll still tell the kids to freeze. They're good at that. I say freeze, they freeze. The magic word will already be on the board. I'll explain the directions, and then I'll say the magic word. So for instance, say we are getting ready to play ORF instruments, and I need to explain to them how they're going to rotate. Whatever activity we're doing, I'll say freeze. I'll explain that these 6 kids are going to go back to the ORF instruments first. And then when I say the magic word, so say the magic word is Mozart that week, Mozart, so then I say Mozart, and those kids go back. I know this is going to take some training with my kids. No, none of the general teachers do this in my school, but I really think it's going to help with transitions. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm not great at always incorporating music vocabulary into my lessons. So I even think having my music word as either a composer or a vocabulary word or one of those things that I don't get to as often will just help get the kids familiarized with them. With my 3, 4, 5s, when I change my magic word, I'll maybe do a short little blurb that they can just read by themselves on the projector while everyone gets settled in the classroom, and then we'll just go right on into. So that, I hope, will help just with the transitions, and that they'll be able to be exposed to a little bit more vocabulary. I usually see my kids about 6 to 7 lessons a month, so I plan on changing it after every 3 to 4 lessons so that they can get exposed to lots of new words, and it'll keep them excited to see what the magic word is when it comes up. The other thing that I want to slightly alter this year is my rewards and management system. This past year, my first year of teaching, I used Conduct Yourself Accordingly is what I called it, and we went over the rules. My rules are: be respectful, be ready, be responsible, make good choices, and be our participant. Be ready, responsible, and respectful are 3 of our school rules. And then I always tell them music is a special class, so we have 2 more rules. And that is be a participant and make good choices, because I say make good choices all the time. So it had to be one of my rules. So during the music class, what I did this year is when I saw kids following those rules, I would take note, and if they were able to do all of the rules for the majority of the music class, I would move them up 1 key on these paper pianos, which I'll put a picture of right here, on these paper pianos, and I would just mark them. And then once they got to the end of the piano, they would get game choice time. How I think I'm going to change it this year is that we're still going to have our rules, but then I'm also in every class going to have the letters that spell music up on the board. If the students keep all of those letters in music, they're going to move up 3 spaces on the piano. And I'm going to use like the white keys and the black keys this year. Last year I just did white keys. They're going to move up 3 spaces. If they get 4, they move up 2. If they get 3 letters left, they move up 1. And if they get less than 3, they won't move up. And then what I'm going to do is at the end of every month, so about every 6 classes, they will get however much game time in minutes of keys that they've moved up. So say they've moved up 6 keys throughout the month, they'll get 6 minutes of game time. That's their choice of game time. If they've moved up 1, they get 1. So they'll have the potential to move up. I have an octave. So they'll have the potential to get about 13 minutes of game time. And I might even say if you go all the way up, you get like 15 minutes. So I'm really hoping that works well, because they'll be able to work for more to get through it faster and get more game time. And then it will also be something that they get at each month no matter what. Because what would happen sometimes this year with my rougher classes is it would be like 2 months, 3 months before they were able to get up the piano. So then the reward isn't necessarily as effective because they're not receiving it as quickly as connected to the good behavior. So that's my plan for that, and I hope it works well. Fingers crossed. Not that I have tons of management issues in my classroom, but I just think that this will be a good way to relieve some of the pressure on me on keeping track, and to give the kids a better reward because they are really well-behaved class. Another thing that I would like to do more of this year is informances. And what I mean by that is working on a song in class, videotaping it and sending it to the parents so that the parents have a better idea of what I'm doing in music class, and so that the kids get more comfortable with performing. I noticed this year after a 2-year COVID, when we did our winter concert and when we did a concert celebration, performance celebrations for teachers who were retired, the kids were very nervous with performing. So I'm hoping doing these informances just to send to the classroom teacher and their parents and the rest of the staff in the school will help that ease some of that performance anxiety in my students. All right, and the last thing that I want to implement this year is early finisher drawers. I pulled this idea from one of my colleagues who has I'm Done and Now What folders. So I'm hoping to do early finisher drawers. What I'm hoping this looks like, I'll have 3 sets of drawers for each of my grade groupings, 1, 2, 3, 4, and grade 5. Kindergarten, we don't usually need that stuff. And then when the kids are working on an assignment or a project and they're doing their own composition or they're rehearsing something that they have finished and they say, I'm done, they can go pull one of 3 activities from the drawers. I plan to do a whole other video about how I'm doing this when I have more of the details figured out, but I'm working on lots of products for myself and for my pay teacher store that are just quick activities that the kids can do themselves so that they can stay occupied when they've finished early or when I just need them to do something so that I can even pull small groups closer to assessment, things like that. So like I said, I'm going to have a full video about the early finisher drawers, so stay tuned for that, and hopefully it comes back to school. So I think that's all that I currently have that I want to change for my second year of teaching. It's not necessarily all that I want to change, but it's some of my big top priorities that I hope to change and that I hope that I'm able to fix and just reconfigure a little bit to better serve my students. So that's all for today's video. If you liked it or found it useful, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share so that other people can also find the content and hopefully find it useful as well. And on that note, until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.